Yo, 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 YouTubers, White Zero Thunder is back. And, while I should be saying I'm playing Monster Hunter right now, in fact, this is a bit of a rant. You know what I mean? As the title suggests, I'm wanting to talk about something that is a bit near and dear to my heart, which is the Reboot series. And my utter disappointment in the new series, Reboot the Guardian Code. Now, personally, I've never watched it, but I've seen the previews. I've seen people play it. Watch it themselves and not liking it. And at the end of the season, how they utterly disrespected fans like me who love this series to no end. I mean, for goodness sakes, it's part of my childhood. The two of the series that I really loved in the 90s that really are near and dear to my heart were Reboot and Beast Wars, which were the first CGI animated series back in the day. And the way that they treated it, it was just wow. Just an absolute wow. And the way that they said that they weren't targeting fans, they wanted them to empower kids. Well, to me, it's just like, well, then you don't need Reboot. If you truly believed it to be a dead series, then don't dig up its grave. I mean, I would rather the series to have left this world on a cliffhanger than watch it continue the way haphazardly that they've done. And then I just thought about it, it's like, as strange as this is gonna sound, they could have actually done it right. They could have brought Reboot into the real world instead of this weird ass way that they've done it. And I want to share with you my thoughts on how they could have done it. Because I do like to make up stories. I'm trying to write a book. But, you know, just have a hard time doing it. You know, the old saying is that the hardest thing that a person can do is fucking write a book. Because, I mean, God, look at Game of Thrones. That guy's, hasn't done a fucking thing in for what, 4 years? Anyway, I'm digressing. So let's start out with the way that they began this Reboot Guardian Code. They bunch of kids in high school suddenly find a secret place, find a supercomputer, and they've suddenly got to save the world from Megabyte through by going into the digital world. And how very Power Ranger-ish of them, you know what I mean? Oh my goodness. Oh. Anyway, and my thinking is, the first thing that they should not have done is act so like pedestrian about it. You know, like this is, everybody said it, that this is using genres that they have no business using. Which they could have worked. It could have worked, but they shouldn't have been so obvious with this setting. First off, high school. Why? Because in their interviews they're saying they're wanting to empower kids, and they're empowering kids that are in college or whatever. And the kids that they're wanting to empower are so like 90s and 2000s. They're like, you got 4 kids, you got the jock, you've got the social media lover, and you've got the nerd, and you've got the cool kid. These are the kids that need the least amount of empowering in this day and fucking age. I mean, oh my god, talk about pedestrian. I mean, you've got the jock, you've got the sports lover, the you know what I mean, the guy who's all about football, who's all about who's, yes, all about sports, who, you know as well as I do, in the real world would be, if this is a high school, I think it is, he's gonna be having like 4 colleges ready to murder over him. And when he finally, and he's got coaches that are that are going to fucking get him prostitutes who are literally going to be helping him get away with murder, especially if he's really fucking good. So this is the type of kid that needs the least amount of empowering. So yeah, no, that's not who I would have chosen. And of course, the social butterfly, when they grow up, this is the person that's going to be getting into fashion designing, that's going to be getting into that's you know what I mean, they're going to be having models. They're going to be models. They're going to be news reporters or something like that. So yeah, they don't need empowering either. And then you've got, of course, the cool kid that's going to have the bullshit where they're gonna be, excuse me, I'm playing a game and trying to talk. Surfer dude, all that jazz. Just somebody you do not think of when you're thinking about shit like this. Once again, a kid that doesn't need empowering, that's so generic. And then, of course, the nerd, another generic bit. Yeah, these are our 4 heroes, ladies and gentlemen. People with that need the least amount of empowerment, they're saying they want to have power. Well, all wrong. If you want to empower kids, why don't you empower the kids that need empowering? In this day and age. Alright, so alright, now, who my 4 kids would have been that need empowering? The first off, how about a kid from a broken home? And now I'm not talking like an abusive dad or anything like that, because let's keep this like kid show, kid friendly. So let's just say like it started out as, you know, the perfect home. Ugh. Where, you know, loving family, all that jazz, and then, like, say the mom died. And it just wrecked the house. And so, yeah, it's the dad's, like, drunk off his gourd or whatever, and it's forcing the kid to be the grown-up in the family. He's got to take care of his dad, and he's got to take care of the family. That would be my first kid. And yeah, it's like Yeah, someone who's got issues. Someone who's got to... And anyway, that would be my first kid. Someone who's, yes, who's got a lot of issues to deal with on their front. Now, the second one. Let's keep on this trail of kids that need empowering. And the second one, I think, would be like a gay kid. A kid that's inherently got problems with in society, where they're constantly made fun of, where they're the different kid. They've got yeah, where people are going to be looking at this kid and be like, this kid does not belong with us, and that's someone who's got to deal with issues like that. And then having a hard time talking and playing at the same time. Anyway, third kid on the block. Let's go with something a bit slightly generic, but not generic in the same way. You know, I'm talking about something that's constantly in the news, constantly being told about, and is something that is constantly being dealt with. And that is a gang. A kid that's living in a gang neighborhood, you know, where constantly dealing with crime, constantly dealing with hell, where they're trying to keep out of it, where they've got parents that are just begging them not to get into the gang life, or they've got yeah, you know what I mean? They're constantly dealing with this hopeless situation. And let's take it a step further, where they've got a brother who's in it, who's in a gang, who's trying to keep their brother out of it. And that's where that problem comes from. It's shit. And they're constantly dodging. They're constantly fighting this, running, hiding every time they're trying to come home. And they're dealing with it in that way. That would be the third kid. There's another kid that needs empowering, and the fourth kid that needs empowerment. Let's do another generic, but not in the proper sense that people are thinking. A homeless kid, say a kid that is either dealing with a lost family, who's gone through the foster care system, the foster care hell. We all know about this, especially in the news, of kids that are constantly being abused in these households. And this kid said, no, I've had enough, and I'm going to live out on the street. I would rather live out on the street like this, like an urchin, rather than dealing with the hell of their foster care hell. And there you go. There you got your 4 kids. Oh. And now, how do they start out? Let's not do a stupid high school shtick or a college shtick. Let's literally have them like living their lives. And if you want a common thread between them, let's do like, say they're constantly getting into trouble. Like, there's a policeman who's there with them, who is who's met each of them and has told them all that they can do better, that is trying to help them, that is trying to help them through this. And that would be the way you'd start it out with that. Now, let's start it out from the reboot thing. Instead of, like I said, I've always thought about this, is that this isn't a fucking reboot, this is a fucking remake of what they've done. And if they truly wanted to do a reboot of the reboot, have it be continued. And the way I think it is, like 20 years ago, the way the series ended is Megabyte had gotten the supercomputer. He won. He basically defeated Bob and the rest of them and said he was going to go on a hunt. He was going to hunt down every one of them. Well, let's make it 20 years later, where he has literally been hunting down everybody. Hunting them like dogs. And like, say, maybe the only one that's left is Bob. That, after all this time, the only one who survived it is Bob. And he's he's, like I said, he's the last Guardian. He is the last of Mainframe. Mainframe was destroyed, and he's the only one left from that. And he's even after all this, even being hitting his lowest point, he's still Bob. He's still a Guardian. He's still fighting against Megabyte. And if you want to, and like I said, if you want to bring that into the world, then make it like Megabyte 1. That he has destroyed, he's basically taken over, he's made it into the human world, and he is basically making the user lives hell. The biggest news article we're dealing with today is dealing with cyber terrorism. Well, Megabyte has taken over the supercomputer systems. He has become the ultimate cyber terrorist. I'm surprised these people have not thought about that. And in his mind, his greatest pleasure would be making user lives a living hell. There's the premise. There you got it, right then and there. Is Megabyte has basically taken over the user world and is doing cyber terrorism that the police can't stop, that the governments can't stop, because he's doing what the cyber terrorists are doing. He is shutting down schools. He is erasing police systems. He is messing with the FBI. Just all these things that make him an absolute devil. And Bob is trying to stop him. And let's say, where Megabyte is fighting against users, let's make it where Bob is working together with them. And let's deal with the next issue that I've got with the Guardian Code system, and that is the generic bad guy, which was the hacker. You know, that he act like Rita and Zed, that he's just this god figure that's sending Megabyte out to do these things. Well, how about we do a complete reversal on him, and instead of making him the generic bad guy, let's make him the good guy, where he's been working with Bob for these 20 years fighting against Megabyte. And yeah, just where they're constantly on the run from the law because, like I said, Megabyte could be controlling the law. Literally holding their system hostage, saying that they're working for him now, and they're going to help him find Bob. They're going to help him find the hacker, and they're going to stop. He's going to stop them once and for all. And let that be the part where they come together, where it's you have a twist of fate, if the only one, but I'll allow it, where all the kids find themselves coming together in this one spot, this one place, this one this abandoned house, and it just happened to be where Bob and the hacker are hiding at this point. And the hacker and Bob captures them, wondering if they're working with Megabyte or not. And each of them is telling their story, and he decides the hacker's gonna tell his story to these kids. That about fighting against Megabyte, how he's destroying these worlds, these systems, these people, all for his own amusement. And let that be the reason that they want to fight Megabyte. Let's have each of them be connected to this war in some way. Like, say, the kid from the broken home. Say that his mother was like one of the victims. Like, say she was in the hospital and something happened to her. And she couldn't get treatment because the systems got down. The hospital system come down. Well, guess what? Megabyte was there. Megabyte shut down the system. Megabyte killed this person's mom, breaking his family, destroying his family. That would piss me off. And I would want payback too. Now, as for the gay person, like, say, like, if they knew another gay person who didn't come out like this person, who didn't deal with the pain of the social media, wanted to dodge it, so they were hiding out. But let's say that social media had exposed them. Like, in that sense, like they were exposed. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I said, this isn't scripted, people. I'm literally playing a game and trying to jot down my thoughts. So you're going to be hearing a lot of ums and ahs. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Like, say that this person had a friend who was also dealing with their sexuality. But they didn't want to deal with it, like, in the main sense. They didn't want to deal with it on, like, everybody, like, getting on their cases and being social media. But yes. And so that's when Megabyte was dealing with them, was hitting the social media. And exposed this person to the criticisms and the pains. Yes, just basically forced them to go through hell. And it forced them to go through suicide. It forced them to commit suicide because they just couldn't handle it. And, yeah, that bit. And this person suddenly has a reason to fight against Megabyte. And for, like the gang person, like, say that the gangs are being controlled by Megabyte, that they're working for him. Yeah, I'm not gonna win this fight. And yeah, in that sense, like, his brother is now being forced to commit crimes in the name of someone that the gangs don't believe in, but they have to do it, otherwise that the Megabyte is keeping them, like, out of jail. He's keeping them out of prison. He's organizing them. He's making them stronger, and it's something that the boy living in the gang neighborhood can't stand. And the final one is the homeless kid. Like, say that Megabyte had been fighting against the foster kids' computers and allowing monsters into through the system. Oh, thank you very much. Who's forcing them into the system. Basically, these kids each have a reason to fight now. A reason to get into this war. And they're like, train us, teach us how to fight, let us help you fight. And that's when the hacker shows them his device, where he can send them into the internet to fight against Megabyte. And there is the begin, and you can make that the first couple of episodes, where the first thing that they decide to fight against is, like, say, the police and the gangs are, they're being controlled by Megabyte. So the first thing they gotta do is free them. And yes, and then you can go into the reboot section, where they all are sent into the internet and they've got to fight Megabyte there. Now, how do you do it? Don't be the people that are defending the systems. Be the people who Megabyte has taken control of the systems. So make Megabyte be the one defending himself from them. Where they've got to fight against Megabyte's forces, Megabyte's sprites. And they've got to get to the control node that is going to, Megabyte's control node. You've got to shut it down before these systems can be freed from Megabyte's control, Megabyte's influence. And if, like I said, if you want to make it, yes, you make it reboot. You make it to where the control node is a GameCube. Like in the original, where they've got to fight against games and users to save their systems. Well, guess what? Megabyte's controlling a cube. He's the user now, and you've got to fight against him. And there you can have the pop culture references. You can have a Doom game. You can have a Bandicoot game, or God forbid, a Destiny or Modern Warfare a game that they've got to fight against. And when they win, the control node is destroyed, Megabyte loses influence in this system, and they're saved. And that's where you can make the stories, where the real life is the kids dealing with their life issues, and while at the same time they've got to deal with the reboot issues, where they've got to fight against Megabyte and what he's controlling. Like, he could be controlling his social media, and that could be an episode about the gay kid, where he's dealing with the issues but he's still got friends that are hidden away, who are afraid to expose themselves while he's trying to encourage them to. And then you've got Megabyte who's going to expose them. And it's where this is the gay kid's time to shine, where he's fighting everything he has to protect his friends, to give them a chance to come out willingly. And at the end of the episode, where this kid has been so afraid, where he's almost exposed, and you've got the gay person telling them, like, you can't hide forever. Sooner or later, people are gonna find out. And the more you hide away, the more you give them the power. It is only when you finally show them who you are that you finally take control back from them. And this encouraged the person to finally come out to everybody. And maybe you can even find it like, where it's not as bad as the person thought it was, where the person wasn't gonna go through the absolute nightmare that they thought they were gonna. And like I said, in another episode where it's about the broken house kid, where, say, like, if you wanted to make the ultimate, where the dad gets into an accident, he's put into, like, a coma or something like that. He's basically being put into the same position as the mother. And Megabyte is attacking the hospital. And it's up to that kid to stop Megabyte from killing his father and a whole lot of other people in this house, in this hospital. And that could be there. And another one where the homeless kid is dealing with his own foster issues, like, say, his foster siblings. They're still in the system while he's endeavoring it himself, where he's trying to save them, or there are bad people that are trying to get into the system, and he's got to stop them. Yeah, these are the bits you can have where they're dealing with their own issues, but at the same time they're still out there saving the world. That can be the Power Ranger angle, you know? And I'm pretty sure no one else has done this before. You're on Netflix. Netflix has literally got a show right now about kids dealing with puberty, where they've got a puberty monster and they're dealing with it in that way. Now, does that sound like something... Oh my god. Oh my god. Does that really sound like something that if you're... Oh my god. I cannot help but laugh at this. You've got a show like that on here. You really think that that these issues that I'm bringing up would be any different? And for the end of it, like the end of the series, oh my god, when they decided they were gonna make fun of the fan base that had been waiting for a sequel, or for it to return for 20 fucking years, and they make him to be the user, where they're just making absolute fun of us. And it's just like, fuck you, you assholes. I'm not a hardcore fan. I am not like the guy with the posters and such like that on his wall. But this is an important part of my life. I identify with the guy that they made into the user, that they're just making absolute fun of. And it's just like, I want to beat these motherfuckers to hell and high water for what they've done. And to me, like, how about as an interesting twist? The hacker that I've put to my game, how about we make him the user? Like he was the one who was playing the computer, playing games. The mainframe was his system. And, yeah, and make it so that, like 20 years ago, that Megabyte destroyed his system, destroyed his mainframe, and he saves Bob. And together, they've decided that they're going to continue the fight against Megabyte. That would have been my user, where literally, like, he'd been, where they'd been fighting against Megabyte for decades, trying to stop him. And that would be my user. You know, give, like, not some gamer who's ruined, how do I want to say this? Who's basically been a couch potato gamer for his entire life. That to me is just an absolute insult to every fan. Doesn't matter if they're hardcore or not. It's an insult and a betrayal of the people who have been your fans for 20 years. That's some dedication, motherfuckers. And we mean so little to you. Go to hell is all I'll say is. Now, if you want, like, the end of the season where you're, talking about, like, Reboot. If you want to bring in Reboot, then how about where the system has, returned. Nobody knows how or why. But Reboot's back. It's the mainframe is back, and everybody's wondering how this is possible when Megabyte has apparently saved it in some way or another and has been keeping it for his own reasons, whatnot. And let's have the end of this season where both the real world and the digital world are in trouble. Where once again, I'm torn between focusing on this game and trying to make my point. where, say, the kids are exposed or whatever, or they're being arrested for, for, you know, for terrorism, for helping the hacker. And on the other end of it, yeah, you've got Reboot that's been revived somehow. And you've got um anyway, yeah, it's where, and to top it off, let's show Dot and Enzo, like, where they're kidnapped by Megabyte, and that could be the end of the season, a cliffhanger ending for that season, where Bob and the hacker have a choice, where they can either save Enzo and Dot and Mainframe from Megabyte, or they've got to choose to save their kids, the Rangers or whatever. And they've got to save them in that way, in sense and form. Yeah, so there's the big choice. They either save the kids, or they've got to save Dot and Enzo in Mainframe. And there you can end the season. Now, honestly, people, does that sound better than what we got before? Because like I said, what they did with Reboot Guardian Code, they could have done something so much better. And I just gave an example of what they could have done better. So, if you people think that my little rant is justified, then go ahead and give me comments, talk to me about it. Give your own suggestions of what they could have done better. Because, goddammit, they could have done so much better. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed this rant. Hope you enjoyed me playing the game. Like, favorite, subscribe, YouTubers, and let me know you're out there. Love me or hate me, but let me know you're out there.